Okay, so let's talk about numbers. They're literally everywhere in today's world. But here's the thing, just seeing numbers isn't the same as understanding them. Seeing the story they're trying to tell. That skill, that's called numerical reasoning. And honestly, it's become one of the most critical tools you can have for your career. So let's break down what that really means. You know the feeling, right? We've all been there. You're sitting in a meeting, someone throws up a slide that's just a wall of charts and percentages, and your brain just kind of freezes. It can feel like you're trying to read a totally foreign language. But imagine for a second, what if you were the person in that room who could just glance at it and see the simple, clear message hiding in all that data? So first things first, you have to get it out of your head that numbers are just for the finance team or the data analysts. That's old school thinking. Nowadays, being fluent with data is like a universal language at work, and it's a skill that pretty much everyone needs to have. I mean, just think about it for a second. Whether you're in sales, HR, marketing, even on the factory floor, the big decisions, the important ones, are all guided by data. Companies use these numbers to figure out what's working, what's not, and where the next big opportunity might be. Being fluent in that data doesn't just get you a seat at the table. It makes your voice one of the most important ones there. All right, so what exactly is the skill we're talking about? It's so easy to just file it away as being good at math, but it's actually way more practical and honestly more interesting than that. Let's really get into what it means. And this right here is the heart of it. Look at the key words: practical and everyday work. See? We are not talking about some abstract math theory you learned in school. This is all about the real-world skill of making sense of the charts, the tables, and the figures you actually see day in and day out at your job. Yeah, and this just nails the difference, right? In school, a lot of math was about memorizing formulas to solve these abstract problems. Numerical reasoning, though, that's about looking at a chart and knowing what it means, spotting a trend in the sales data, and working with real-world numbers to answer real-world questions. This is my absolute favorite way to think about it. The numbers on a spreadsheet, the lines on a graph, they're all telling a story about how a project is going, or why customers are behaving a certain way. Your job, your skill, is to become the person who can read that story and then tell it to everyone else. So, how does all this actually translate into real-world value for you? Well, it's pretty simple. Having this skill isn't just a nice-to-have on your resume, it's a massive driver of career success. It's the kind of thing employers are actively looking for. I mean, just look at this list of pretty common tasks. Every single one requires you to look at numbers and make a smart judgment call. Are we hitting our targets? Is this branch outperforming that one? Are we on budget? The answers to all these questions, they're right there in the data. Now here's where it gets really powerful. This skill completely elevates how you contribute. It's the difference between saying, I think we should focus on the new product, and saying, okay, look, the data shows our new product has a 30% higher conversion rate. It's driving half of our new customers. We need to double down on it now. See, one is just an opinion. The other is a rock-solid strategy backed by evidence. And really, it all boils down to this. When you have better information, you make better decisions. When you can confidently read the data, you help yourself and your whole team avoid costly mistakes, move faster, and just make smarter choices all around. Okay, so now we know what it is and why it's so important. The next logical question is, where do you personally stand right now? So let's walk through a few common performance levels and think of this not as some final judgment, but more like a roadmap for where you can go next. Let's break down this skill into 4 main stages, and I want you to think of them as stages on a journey. It doesn't matter where you are today, because there's always a clear path forward to get stronger and more confident. So if you find yourself in this first stage, it might mean that data feels a little intimidating right now. And you know what? That is perfectly okay. The great thing about this stage is that you have a very clear starting line. The way forward is all about building up your confidence step by step, with simple everyday numbers to create a solid foundation. Moving on up, in this range, you've pretty much got the basics down. You can handle straightforward information no problem, but maybe you get a little tangled up when a problem has multiple steps or layers. Your real strength here is that you can grasp the main idea. So the next step is just to practice with more complex stuff to build up your speed and accuracy. All right, now we're getting into some seriously solid territory. If you're at this level, chances are you're already pretty comfortable with most data that comes your way. You're reliable. The path to the next level isn't really about learning brand new things. It's all about refinement, honing your skills under pressure with really complex data to achieve true mastery. And finally, at the very top of the range, you're an expert. You see complex data and you process it quickly, accurately, and logically, even when things get stressful. At this point, your goal isn't just to be good, it's to be consistently brilliant, even when you're faced with the trickiest, most challenging problems out there. So as we start to wrap this up, let's look ahead. Understanding data isn't just another task on your to-do list, it's a huge advantage you can build for your entire career. It's about turning numbers from something you have to deal with into your own personal secret weapon. And if you take away only one thing today, please let it be this. Nobody is just born a numbers person. That's a myth. Numerical reasoning is a skill, and just like any other skill, you can learn it, you can practice it, and you can get better at it over time. It just takes a little focused effort. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Every single day, in whatever job you have, data is telling a story. It's shaping the decisions, the projects, and all the opportunities around you. The only question is, are you going to be the one who can actually read it? What story will you make it tell? Thanks for tuning in.